This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking District 5 and 6 athletics week in, week out in the state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney, joined today by Sean Kane. What's up, Sean?
Well, you know, I've got no apologies for good finishes this week.
That's right. No apologies. This is going to be, I mean, it's the East Idaho Prepcast, but like today, I feel like it's like East Idaho Countdown. Like we're bringing you the top 5 finishes from the top 5 most incredible football games that happened just this past Friday. And I mean, statewide, Sean, I don't remember there being a week where there were so many crazy finishes, high impact plays at the end of games, overtime affairs, one score games. I mean, just outside of East Idaho, you had a double overtime game between Centennial and Capital where Centennial misses the PAT in overtime and then blocks a PAT in overtime to send it to a second OT. You had a 1-point win for Valley View over Columbia thanks to a missed PAT. Homedale and Sandpoint got into a shootout. You had a flurry of great finishes up in North Idaho. I mean, it was just insane how many good games there were. And of course, East Idaho leads the charge.
Well, yeah, I mean, I did a game we'll get to, but I thought, man, I had the best game, and I got home and got on Twitter, and I'm like, what? And they just kept coming. The feed just kept coming. So yeah, what a incredible weekend of high school football. I know we like to talk about other sports, but man, I can't remember a weekend where so many games had so much on the line in the last seconds.
This is going to be a football heavy show, just warning the good folks ahead of time here. And I've got 5 games, 5 fantastic finishes queued up, ready to go as we dive into our countdown. So again, you can listen to this audio only at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. We also offer a video version of the Prepcast at IdahoSports.com's YouTube channel and Facebook page. This might be a week where you actually want to catch the video because I'm going to share my computer screen and play all of these plays for you so you can see them, just in case you haven't had a chance to yet. So yeah, definitely would encourage the video version of the podcast this week, only because we're incorporating so much media into it. But Sean, with that said, are you ready to start the countdown?
Yeah, I'm ready. And you know, when you hit and you go to YouTube, make sure to subscribe so you can get it every week sent to you.
Yes, if you hit subscribe and you subscribe to the IdahoSports.com YouTube page, you will be notified every time we drop a new episode. So you don't have to go searching for it every week, because sometimes we publish on Wednesday afternoon. Sometimes it's first thing Thursday morning. It's hard to tell. And if you subscribe, and even if you listen to the audio version on whatever podcast platform you prefer, you can subscribe there as well. And then it automatically gets downloaded into your feed. One less thing you've got to worry about because you've got a lot to worry about these days.
Absolutely.
All right. So here we go. We'll start the countdown with number 5. It's going to take us to Ravston Stadium in Idaho Falls. This is a place you're going to be at Friday night for the Emotion Bowl, and we will talk about that in due time. But first, we had a high country conference matchup at the Class 4A level between Bonneville and Idaho Falls. Bonneville, just 2 weeks prior, had lost their star running back Tim Williams to a devastating lower leg injury that's going to cost him his entire junior season. And so how would they respond? Well, they get on the board first after a scoreless first quarter. It's an 11-yard shuffle pass touchdown from Canyon Todd. And then Todd scores, or tried to score on 2-point conversion, but failed. It was 6-0 Bonneville. Todd scores again from 1 yard out. This time he does get the 2-point conversion, and at halftime, it's Bonneville leading 14-0. Okay, we go to the second half of action. Bonneville strikes immediately in the second half as Keaton Train returns the opening kickoff of the third period, 94 yards for a touchdown. And just like that, Bonneville is up 20-0. Then on the next drive for Idaho Falls, they're backed up into their own end zone. Peter Molino gets tackled in the end zone for a safety, and it's 22-0 Bonneville in the third quarter. And we think this is going to be a runaway. First of all, Sean, before we dive into the Idaho Falls side of things, this was an encouraging performance for Bonneville coming off of that significant injury to Tim Williams.
Yeah, definitely. Just how do you respond? It's your best player. You didn't even finish the game. So you didn't get you don't have your normal routine, right? Like it's not like we played the game back to practice. It's like we only played part of the game. How do we get back to practice? How do we get focused in what we have to do? And they found a way to rally, didn't they?
Yes, they did. So Bonneville's up 22-0 in the third. And then Idaho Falls starts the comeback, Sean. 2 minutes to play in the third. Bradley Elison finds Taylor Carden for a 6-yard touchdown pass. They go for 2, don't get it. It's 22-6 going into the fourth quarter. We go to 5:28 to play in the game. Idaho Falls still trailing 22-6. Elison hits Carden again for a 27-yard touchdown. Again, they go for 2, don't get it. So it's 22-12. Immediately after that, Idaho Falls goes for the onside kick. They get it, Sean. They get the onside kick. They get the ball back down 10. And from there, Elison throws a 19-yard touchdown pass to Tayson Kirkham. They go for the PAT and make it to cut the gap to 22-19. They kick deep to Bonneville. They force a punt. Idaho Falls gets the ball back with 1:23 to play. They march all the way to Bonneville's 38-yard line. And this is how the game concludes. Hang tight.
Number 5.
This is number 5.
That's
wrong game. Hold on. And again, this is on IdahoSports.com. This is Tim Belknap and Josh McGauley on the call here. Final play of the game between Idaho Falls and Bonneville. So there you go. That's the Idaho Falls on third down, Sean. They throw short. They don't have any timeouts left. He's tackled in bounds. They've got to hurry up to the line. And they snap the ball with about 3 seconds to go. And Elison like Josh said on that broadcast there, he had a guy open, just underthrew it just a little bit. But man, he throws that a yard or two more. That is possibly the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, right there. They had the receiver, just the throw was off just a little bit. But yeah, it was. I watched that and thought they kind of stopped for a second. I think Bonneville didn't realize the game was over. But then, as that went on, they realized it was over, and probably just kind of a huge sigh of relief after being up and the events of last week for the Bees.
So Bonneville gets the win 22-19 over Idaho Falls. The Bees are 3-1 overall, 1-0 in High Country Conference play. And I would say too early to talk playoffs, but well on their way to getting a playoff bid. Idaho Falls behind the 8 ball a little bit here, Sean. They're 1-3 overall, 0-1 in league play. They were famously like the first team out of the playoffs last year. They just didn't have a good enough Max Preps ranking to leapfrog some of those other teams. And behind the 8 ball a bit here again in 2023. Big game with Skyline coming up this week in the Emotion Bowl that we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Number 4 on the list, Sean. This is the game that you were at, the Black and Blue Bowl.
4? What? Wow.
Only 4. I know. It's nothing against you personally, but
I know the other games, but I have to fight for a little bit.
The annual Black and Blue Bowl between Class 5A Highland, Class 4A Pocatello, Lance Taylor and Sean Kane, yours truly on the Prepcast here. Sean, we're on the call for this game. And this ended up being a pretty fun back and forth affair as well. Highland builds up a 17-0 halftime lead. Zarek Eunice was your IdahoSports.com player of the game, Sean. He kicks 2 field goals and also has a pick six, or kicks a couple PATs, kicks a field goal, has a 61-yard pick six back the other way for a touchdown. Tyson Beckles had a touchdown run. It was 17-0 Highland at halftime. Be honest, what were you thinking in that moment at halftime?
At halftime, I think we kind of hit it. We talked about it a little bit, is that really, if you don't give up that INT, it's a 10-point game. It's been a whole lot of Zarek Eunice. He had a lot of plays in the second half too that didn't show up on stats, but he'll be in the video you watch covering. But yeah, we just kept thinking it's only 10. You're only down 10 points and you threw 2 interceptions. We're thinking, if you're the Thunder, man, you're still right in this game. You have an opportunity because the way it was kind of going, you felt Highland really was having the momentum and was kind of going to shut the door, but it wasn't the case.
Yeah, we get to the second half. Pocatello trailing 17-0. They get a 6-yard touchdown run from Dre Contreras, the quarterback, to make it 17-7. But Highland answers right away. Drew Hymas hits Jackson Riddle on a 25-yard touchdown pass. So Highland's up 24-7. And from there, Highland wouldn't score again, and it was all Pocatello. Pokey gets the ball back. They score on their next drive. It's another 6-yard touchdown run from Contreras, and the Thunder are within 24-14. And then in the fourth quarter, Garrett Keller comes out and kicks a field goal, right, to make it 24-17. And then Pocatello's defense played really well in that second half. They get the ball back one final time, and they get inside Highland's 10-yard line, and they have 5 cracks at the end zone, Sean, and they can't get anything going. First play, Contreras tries to hit Julian Bowie, incomplete. Second down, Contreras is looking for Ty Wilkinson, again, incomplete, but Highland gets flagged for pass interference. On the next play, Sean, take us through this. Contreras, it's still second down because of the penalty. Contreras throws it to Hunter May, but the touchdown gets reversed after Nick Sorrell, the Highland coach, was granted timeout. Not everybody was aware that the timeout had been called, and so Pocatello snaps the ball. They think they've won the game.
Yeah, the best part of that is Lance Taylor's like, they really should go down the center to slant to Hunter May. It worked in the end zone, so he does it, and he's like, yeah, it's a touchdown. And Nick Sorrell was barking up and down the line way before the play even happened for a timeout, but no one knows. Everyone's cheering, it's going crazy, and then timeout. So they got everyone, I think, and their brother thought that was a touchdown, but the timeout was called way before. It was just so crazy at the end that they didn't get it out on the field for a few seconds, just enough to just give a little taste of what could have been.
Yeah, so the touchdown gets wiped out of the timeout. Pocatello still got 2 more cracks out of here because time is dwindling now. Now it's not a matter of downs, it's a matter of time. So next play, Contreras looks for Wilkinson again and throws incomplete, and it basically sets up one final play. How much time was on the clock, Sean? 3 seconds?
3 seconds. Well, it was another PI, right? There's 2 PI.
Yes. Yeah,
so there's another PI, half the distance to the goal. And then they've got another play with, no time left on the clock.
Okay, and that's where we pick it up here with Lance Taylor and Sean Kane on the call for IdahoSports.com. The final play of the game. Ball is at the Highland 2.5. We'll call it the 3-yard line. And this is with 3 seconds left. This is basically the ball game. Here it is. And you can hear, great job on the call there, by the way, Sean. You could hear some of the students that were in front of you. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
It was one of the loudest outside games I've ever been at, for sure.
And I guess I misspoke. There was no time on the clock, right? It was an
No
untimed.
time. Yeah, because they had
down.
another pass interference. Basically, it's a really good play. The Highland defenders kind of beat. He pushes them down because no matter what, they can't get to touchdown another play. But if he doesn't push him down, he probably catches the ball easy, if that makes sense. And so they get another play, no time left on the clock. And yeah, it's right through the hands. It was on target. Who's on coverage? Zarek Eunice almost has it. But if you go back and watch that, Colton George tries to hit it out of the air, and I zoomed in on it, and he misses it by like that much from tipping it. So you have like everything going on this play. He jumps up number 11, almost gets it, and Colton George might have blocked the view of the receiver too. I think was a little bit of it, but just right in and out of the hands.
Yeah, let's watch this one more time here and diagnose the play here. I'm not going to have the audio this time, but okay, you can see it set up. Highland's got a big defensive line, right, Sean? I mean, and even
they're
the front
gigantic.
they're really gigantic. Tough. And so you see Contreras as he takes a snap, he'll roll out to the left, but there really isn't room for him to run it in, even though the ball's at the 3. So, like, if we watch this, and I liked how Pocatello shifted too to have a single receiver out to that wide side as well. Overload the short side of the field. So he's taking off and running, but you can see the gaps closing. And then, yeah, you talked about it. Colton George, 33.
No, 11. It's number 11.
Back it up one more time here. You'll see George, or you'll see 33 for Highland stick his hand up and nearly get it. And then Eunice is 21, right, on the coverage.
And he's
for the Rams.
And he's right in front of him.
And I believe the intended receiver was Carson Christensen for Pocatello. That's who they were trying to go to.
Yeah, number 6 would be Carson Christensen.
But you'll see right there.
And then the next
see him
one
jumping up in the air, right?
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about, Sean.
That's Colton George. And if you zoom in, if you zoom in on that, he barely misses it. But
okay, and so now you see Colton George almost gets a hand on it, and here is Eunice, and here's the intended receiver. And so Eunice is right there, and I believe that's Carson Christensen, and the ball goes right off his hands, incomplete. Pretty crazy, pretty crazy finish, because nobody knew for a second, and then Highland started celebrating. So very wild finish. Another classic in the Black and Blue Bowl. Pocatello, I think, is one of the best teams in the state in 4A. I think Highland is the best team in the state in 5A. Maybe my fellow media members will wake up soon. I don't know. I doubt it. Big game with Meridian this week might go a long way toward putting Highland on the map.
Yeah, that game will make a big statement for Highland when you get the clashes from the different conferences. And, Pocatello versus Hillcrest is going to be this weekend as well. That will, I think, sum up a lot of arguments there.
Yes, and we've got a very good batch of games on IdahoSports.com that we will talk about here momentarily. But that was number 4. Are you ready for number 3, Sean?
Oh, yeah.
Number 3, we're going to go to the Class 2A ranks, the defending state champions from Bear Lake. They have had a tough go of it, replacing so many talented players off of last year's championship team. They came into their matchup with Wendell. Wendell was 3-1. Bear Lake was 1-2. And this came down to essentially there was 3 seconds left when this play happened, but this ends up being the game-winning touchdown from Bear Lake. But before we get to that, Bear Lake jumps out to a 14-7 halftime lead, and then Wendell scores 16 unanswered points in the second half, and the Trojans all of a sudden are up 23-14 in the fourth quarter. And so Bear Lake gets a touchdown. They try to go for 2 and they don't get it, and that leaves the deficit at 6. And that sets up this last minute drive by the Bear Lake Bears. This footage is from KVSI, The Wave, down there in Montpelier. This is Jared Hillier on the play-by-play call. And here is what the final or second to last play of the Bear Lake Wendell game looked like. Take a look. And again, they're debating. Wendell's leading 23-20 because Bear Lake had cut it to 6. They had gotten a field goal. Toby Flake's a great kicker. And so they're debating here, should Bear Lake go for the field goal and the tie, or should they go for the touchdown and the lead? It's 4th and goal, Sean, and there's only 9 seconds left. So that's where we pick it up.
Nice.
How about that play, Sean?
That was a nice little play call, and the Bear Lake receivers gets it wide open in the corner of the end zone. You can tell Wendo something went wrong, and couldn't believe they were he was that open. You could tell immediately something wasn't accounted for, but yeah, gutsy play.
Yeah, Rhett Lloyd, the game-winning touchdown pass to Levi Stonehouse. And this was a good win for Bear Lake. They're now 2-2. Wendell's 3-2. This is a game where we look back where Bear Lake and Wendell are going to be competing, we think, probably for one of the at-large bids to the postseason potentially. And this head-to-head win for Bear Lake is going to prove to be huge. They did make the PAT, and they get the 27-23 victory. So good win for Bear Lake, and that was number 3 on the countdown. Special shout out to Malad as well. The Dragons won a very tight game with West Jefferson, 22-14. Malad now with a winning record. They're 3-2. So keep an eye on the Dragons as well from the Class 2A ranks. All right, Sean. Now the two big kahunas. These came. I mean, this next one still is pretty incredible. And then our number one, of course, everybody's been talking about. But the next two are going to be touchdowns as time expires. Essentially, there's going to be like no time left for the opposing team to make any sort of comeback. We start at number 2 in a non-conference battle at the 4A ranks. Preston traveling to Burley. And like every single Burley game, it turns into an offensive shootout. This was a wild, like, final minute and change. The two sides kept going back and forth, Sean. They traded the lead 4 different times in the fourth quarter. Burley seemingly gets the last laugh. Mac Jensen finds Sawyer Condell on a 45-yard touchdown with just 40 seconds to play, and Burley's up 51-47. And they're thinking, all right, we survived a tough one with Preston tonight, but we're going to walk out of here with a win. But Preston comes through in the clutch. They've got a freshman quarterback playing right now, Carter Perry, and what an incredible story he's had. He wasn't expected to be the starter coming in, but their starting quarterback got hurt early on, and so Perry, as a freshman, is thrown into the fire. And basically, it comes down to the final play of the game, Sean, here. Preston is trailing 51-47, so a kick does you no good. You've got to get the touchdown. This is from Dan Hubbard on KACH Radio in Preston. Check this out. So you got a good view of the blonde-haired lady, right? Obviously celebrating.
Might be a Preston fan. I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah, might be a Preston fan, not sure. But what an incredible play. Carter Perry, it was a low snap, and so it's already like a fire drill.
And he kind of just gets it to drop down in too. That was a good pass.
Yeah, he didn't rush the throw. He waited for his guy to get open on the crosser, Coulter Moffitt, and touchdown as time expires. And I think all of East Idaho says, way to go, Preston, going into Burley and knocking the Bobcats down a peg. That was a huge win for them. 53-51. Preston gets the win. Perry throws for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns. All 4 touchdowns, Sean, came in the fourth quarter. Carson Winder has 123 yards rushing with 4 touchdowns. And then on defense, Jackson Merrill, 11 tackles and a forced fumble. So Preston's 2-3. Burley's now 2-2. And again, we talk about as teams are competing for at-large bids into the postseason. District 4 gets 2 automatic bids, and that's it. And so unless Burley finishes in the top 2, they'll be fighting for an at-large bid. And Preston with this head-to-head win over the Bobcats, that should help them out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge win for Preston, and Preston, 2-3. I think they've got to be pretty happy right now in their season, and to put up points like that. And like you said, the Burley games are always in the basketball scores. So yeah, you've got to be happy with the results, and moving forward. Yeah, I think you're going to be able to maybe get one of those at-larges, just how it pans out, because other teams are going to have those matchups. So that could be huge later on.
Big implications for Preston. Great win. Congratulations to Coach Craig Cunningham and his crew. And of course, now our number 1 play from our number 1 games, Sean, it is Hillcrest and Skyline. Before we get to the end, though, back and forth affair. Zion Crockett opens the scoring for Skyline, 1-yard touchdown run. Skyline misses the PAT, and so it's 6-0. Now, they didn't have the lead for long. Hillcrest quarterback Peyton King breaks off a 53-yard touchdown run. The kick by Ryland Borgman is through, and Hillcrest leads 7-6. We're still in the first quarter, Sean. Skyline answers. Carmine Garcia hits Hamilton Woodruff for a 53-yard touchdown pass. Skyline goes for 2 to try and go back up by 7. They don't get it, so it's 12-7 Skyline. Now we're into the second quarter. Hillcrest scores again. King on a 1-yard plunge, 13-12 Hillcrest. And then they extend the lead right before halftime. Braxton Battleson steps in front of a pass and returns it 57 yards for a touchdown. Hillcrest goes for 2. Peyton King runs it in. It's 21-12 Hillcrest at halftime. But here come the Grizzlies. Amani Morrell breaks off a 47-yard touchdown run in the third quarter. Alex Dennert hits the PAT. Skyline's within 2, 21-19. And then for the first time since that first score, way back at the start of the game, Skyline takes the lead on a 16-yard touchdown run from Amani Morrell, and then Garcia hits Woodruff for the 2-point pass. And going into the fourth quarter, Skyline leads 27-21. Hillcrest says, that's all right. Stay calm, cool, and collected. Trayson Keller caps off a long drive with a 2-yard touchdown run. Borgman hits the PAT. Hillcrest leads 28-27. Now that, again, they didn't have the lead for long. Skyline strikes on a 48-yard touchdown run from Zion Crockett. Garcia then hits Crockett for the 2-point conversion, and Skyline now leads 35-28. We're late into the fourth quarter here, Sean, and the Grizzlies have a 1-touchdown lead. Now, Hillcrest is attempting to tie the game up. They have it in Skyline territory. They have to go for it on fourth down because there's not much time remaining. They turn it over on downs. Peyton King is stopped at Skyline's 22-yard line. They don't get the first down. They turn it back over to the Grizzlies with 1:27 to go. And from there, this is where the game gets wild. Skyline tries to run out the clock, Sean. They don't quite get the job done because if they had picked up a first down, it would have been over. But Hillcrest holds. And so Skyline, now it's fourth down, Sean, and Coach Scott Berger has the decision to make. Do I punt it away, or do I take an intentional safety to try and bleed as much time off of the clock as possible? He goes for option B. So Zion Crockett's punting. He basically runs backwards all the way into his end zone and steps out of the back. Now, I'd say it worked pretty well. They took 12 seconds off the clock just on that maneuver, but there's still 6 seconds left on the clock. And now it's a safety. So Hillcrest gets 2 points. It's 35-30. And on the safety, you have to kick it deep on the free
Way
kick.
back, yeah.
Yep. And so Hillcrest and where you're getting the free kick at, you're going to have the ball at midfield. And that's exactly what happened. Hillcrest returns the free kick to its own 45-yard line. And they've got basically 2 cracks at it. There's 6 seconds left. First pass is into the flat. It falls incomplete. I'm not sure if they were looking for the hook and lateral there or not, but it falls incomplete regardless. And so now it's up to 1 play. 3 seconds on the clock. The ball is at the Hillcrest 45-yard line. They've got to go 55 yards for pay dirt. It's Hail Mary time. Peyton King has been playing quarterback the entire game, but Tyson Sweetwood has the stronger arm, Sean. So he didn't throw a single pass the entire game.
Man, I've seen him play. He got in a lot of her century. He's actually got a pretty active arm.
Yes, he's got a live arm for sure. So he hasn't thrown a pass the entire game. They need a quarterback with a big cannon to get the ball deep enough to try a Hail Mary. So they bring in Sweetwood off the bench. And this is what happens. This is from one of the Hillcrest parents or fans in the stands recording this, and then it was uploaded to the Hillcrest football Instagram account. Check this out. So you kind of saw it at the end there, Sean. A rainbow of a pass. They throw it up to the 6'7" Isaac Davis, who's playing football for the first time since his freshman year. We know what he can do on the basketball court. He makes the catch. Now, he makes the catch around the 7-yard line. So he's still got to run, the remaining, 6 or 5 yards or whatever it is into the end zone. But good luck tackling that locomotive. And Hillcrest wins on a Hail Mary as time expires, 36-35 the final.
Yeah, and there's no one's in front of him. He just runs right in. It's pretty crazy. But I've seen him in action on the football field, Isaac Davis, that is, and he's a hard guy to cover anyways. And then of course everyone's running full steam down the field. But yeah, I mean, what a play. The backup quarterback comes in, you hit the basketball player. Maybe he Sweetwood will hit him for some assists later in the season. They'll get him on the basketball team. But wow, what a great play. And I'm sure it's been a while since Hillcrest has defeated Skyline, right? I was thinking of that when I was thinking about what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure it's been a few years at least.
Yeah, I'll look it up. While I ask you, what did you think about the decision to go for the intentional safety to try and burn time off the clock?
I always, when you brought that up, I think of now when you watch football and they always like, it's a 33% chance if you do this on 4th down. And I'm like, I mean, it's a lot of what ifs. I would probably be, me personally, I think you just punt it or whatever and get them deeper back, because on the safety there's no way that kick is going to be, you're going to get almost to midfield unless something crazy happens. So you're giving them a shot. Maybe if you punt it deep enough, they don't even get a shot at it. I don't know, but it did take a lot more time than I thought it would. 12 seconds is a lot longer. Yeah, that's a lot longer than I thought it would. And I don't know. I don't know. It's if it's one of those plays, like if it works, it's the greatest thing ever, right? I can't believe they came up with that idea, and if it doesn't work, it's bad, right? There's kind of not really an in between. So I like taking the chance, but I think you kick it as far as away on the other side of the field and just limit their opportunities.
Yeah, interesting decision. And I like Hillcrest probably has a 1 in 50 chance of converting that Hail Mary. And so you can't, to me, I liked the call. I'll play up the other side. You can't have results oriented thinking, which is, well, Skyline lost, so it was the wrong call. I think in general, the decision was a good one to burn as much time off the clock. And I think Coach Berger in the moment thought maybe he could bleed the whole thing out. And I think what you do there is, if you're Morrell, you try to, and nobody ever practices this. Yeah. So,
run zigzaggy or something.
Yeah, exactly. Run around as much as you can. Sorry, I misspoke. I said Morel. It was Crockett who was punting. There's no guidebook on this, but in general, I think Skyline made the right call, and more times than not, that tactic probably works. Okay, last time Hillcrest beat Skyline, Sean, you ready? They had lost 4 in a row to the Grizz. Last time they won was in 2018. They won by a single point, 13-12.
All right.
2018. You know what happened that year?
They won state.
Hillcrest won the championship.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, Hillcrest fans, don't. History says you beat Skyline, they usually portends well for,
Yeah, if Hillcrest can beat Pocatello this weekend, I mean, they've got to feel like they've got a legit chance, because Pocatello played really, really well against what I think too is Highland might be the best 5A team right now. So
yeah,
it'll be a great game.
A lot of good action in East Idaho this week. Okay. We've got a doozy of games coming up this week on IdahoSports.com for you, Sean. We have Highland hosting Meridian on IdahoSports.com. We have Pocatello hosting Hillcrest on IdahoSports.com. We have the Emotion Bowl, Skyline and Idaho Falls, the 59th annual. The winner gets to paint the goalposts at Ravston Stadium in their school colors. Skyline and Idaho Falls have split the past 2 years. That's going to be Friday night, 7:00. We've got Thunder Ridge on the road, Sean, at Middleton. So Titans fans can tune into that game on IdahoSports.com. We've even got a Saturday 8-man game for you, Sean. Council against Butte County. Saturday, 5:00. They're playing in Homedale. Neutral site game.
That one sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
yeah, I like Butte County.
They're going to be great games, right?
Yeah, I mean they're all. I can't see a bad one there. I was gonna say you're gonna have to get me. I was gonna request another laptop so when I'm doing my game I can watch the other games, but
right,
maybe that's an off in the air request. I don't know.
Offline talk for sure. So, all right, before we get out of here, did want to give a shout out to the Bonneville Bees volleyball team, Sean. They won their annual Bonneville Classic over the weekend. Took out a lot of good, talented teams on the way. If you want to know more about this year's Bonneville team and their great legendary coach, Chantal McMurtry, check out this week's Keeping Up with the Kill, written by Lindsay Togiai Afuk on IdahoSports.com. She does a deep dive into the Bonneville Bees and why they've been such a consistently good program in 4A volleyball all of these years. But congrats to Bonneville Volleyball for winning their own home tournament as well.
Yeah, and that tournament's really interesting, right? Because you have all District 6, a lot of the District 6 teams there, if not all of them. I think all of them. And I found it very interesting. Hillcrest beat Skyline, but I think in the regular season, Skyline won. And then Skyline and Hillcrest play again this week. So a lot of implications in that conference. Because I think, you have Bonneville, Hillcrest, Skyline are all good teams, and Blackfoot isn't bad either. There's going to be a lot of back and forth for those, I think, lower spots maybe, but kind of interesting.
Yeah. And, Idaho Falls did just have a volleyball player commit to Baylor as well. I did see that. Grace Fugger for Idaho Falls High committing to Baylor in the Big 12. That's awesome.
Wow.
Way to go for
Very
volleyball.
Cool.
That's awesome. So congratulations. A lot of good volleyball in East Idaho as well. All right. Enjoy all the games on IdahoSports.com this Friday and Saturday. If you want a full rundown of what we're doing, click on the game streams tab at the top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com. And otherwise, enjoy the competition. I'm not sure we can go any higher than what we saw last week, but we'll certainly try.
Like I said, I thought, man, I had the best game, and then I got home. I couldn't believe how many good games there were. So you never know. Emotion Bowl is always a good game. I think regardless, you just got so much history, and you got the nice new turf out there at Ravston. It's going to be a great game. And then, like I said, that Hillcrest Pokey, I think, has a ton of implications for later on in the season. So just unreal. And then, I mean, Meridian Highland was a phenomenal game last year, one score game. So who knows what happens here? I think Highland edges them out. I'm gonna take my hot take there. I like Highland at Iron Horse on the turf.
Yeah, that's an easy one to me. Pokey Hillcrest is the hard one to. I'm not sure. I don't know.
after seeing Pocatello's defense against Highland, they play a lot bigger than they are, and if they can bring that kind of intensity on defense as they did against Highland, man. But you know why Highland wins? They always have good special teams. I mean, their special teams is just so good. Even though they had a field goal blocked, I was just thinking about this. Is Highland special teams are always so good. You have Eunice kicking. You have Drew Hymas, who punts over 40 yards averaging and put Pocatello back in that game. So special teams was a huge part of that game. And Highland always has good special teams, and man, hard to beat that.
Yeah, and Kai Callan is still returning kicks, right? He's pretty electrifying too.
Pretty much Pocatello chose not to really kick it to him. They did a lot of squid kicks.
Yeah.
And it panned out because Pocatello they kicked an onside kick and got it too in that game. I mean, we had pick sixes, fumbles, onside kicks, block field goals, game-winning chances. I don't know if you get any more in a football game than that Black and Blue Bowl. So it was just good.
Yeah, pretty wild slate of games, and good ones on tap here as well. More non-conference action on IdahoSports.com. Thanks for tuning into the East Idaho Prepcast, everybody. For Sean Kane, I'm Brandon Baney, and we'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.